Okay, we are here. We are ready for our third webinar together in 3D Judaism. We are excited to welcome you back. And today, the main topic is going to be, there we go. Our main topic is open source. I'm sorry, here we go. Open source databases in Tinkercad. All right, here we go. All right, I finally found it. So open source, you guys know what open source is, what that means a little bit? Okay, so basically open source just means that people who have creative content usually have it trademarked in some way, or, they have it, they have their name on it and it's theirs. And if you want to use it, you have to pay royalties or whatever it is, you have to change it, something like that. So open source is basically the opposite of that. It's when we share information and we're okay with other people using the things we've created because we've created it for the greater good and not to make money. And so it's open source. We share it. And there's an enormous database within Tinkercad, but even broader than Tinkercad, in the whole 3D universe, where people are sharing their projects and sharing their designs, as I showed you in the last webinar, where I was able to just give you a link to something I created, and you could make it your own. So we're going to focus on that a little bit today to kind of understand how that works and how you can use that to your advantage, and also how your students can share their work with the world and feel really great about it. It's really it's very cool. The class, when I taught this class, the high schoolers 2 years ago, so we designed all kinds of things. So I was looking back over their work in the public forum where everything is, and I found some of my students' things that they had created 2 years ago, and some of them had 40 or 50 downloads, which is pretty cool. That there are 40 or 50 people who downloaded one of my students' dreidels. I don't know why they downloaded it, what they wanted to do with it, but they did, and so that's pretty cool. So we're going to show you how to utilize that today. And the first thing that we're going to do, I want to show you here, first of all. Sorry, so here's open source. We're going to be creating a couple of things using the Tinkercad software and getting a little bit more proficient at it and using other people's designs in it today. And then we have over here, I have a link to another Google slide presentation where we'll share with each other stuff. And I'll just show you a couple of things. So here's the slideshow that we'll put things on. I made one first. This is my doomsday. Can you see it? There it is. Okay, I made that this afternoon. I didn't make anything that you see here. I just put it all here. Somebody else made this house. Somebody else made an asteroid. And somebody else made these sticks. And I uploaded them all to my work plane. And I just put them in the places where I wanted them. And that's what we're going to do today. We're gonna try to see how we can do that and see how this software in particular is great for that kind of stuff. And by the way, I changed the shape of everything you see here. Not the shape, but I changed the size. I changed some things. The house I made bigger. The asteroid I made smaller. The sticks that you see that are, showing the trajectory of the asteroid, I had to rotate them to be the right angle. So you're still doing the work to create what you want, but you're utilizing things that are already there. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Quite literally, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You could just search for the word wheel and find a wheel. And so I'm going to show you how to do that. So this is another one, by the way. I didn't make anything here except for the table. I thought it'd be cool to make a Shabbos table. And so there's nothing Shabbos about it except for that I made the table, and then I made a little bencher holder that says Shabbat Shalom on it, so that, it would be a Shabbos table. But I didn't make the plates or the fork, spoon, knife, cup. These are all things I found. The chairs even I found, although I don't think these are difficult chairs to make, but there's things out there. So one of the things we'll do today is I'm going to ask you to design something using open source, taking other people's stuff. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So if you could, please go to tinkercad.com. And log in. And we're going to create a new design. I'm going to ask the gallery here. I'm going to ask you, what should we make? What would you like to make? What do you want to do? Could be something semi-complicated, not too complicated. Any ideas? Could be Jewish, it could not be Jewish. Any ideas? This is kind of like improv, you know? Just like ask the audience, like, throw out your ideas, right? What do you think? What should we be making here? No ideas. Okay, let's make, I can do it. Let's make a, I want to say, let's make a scene of a city block. All right. So what are the things you have in a city block? Have a road, might have some buildings, might find a car, right? Maybe a parking meter. Okay, so I'm going to Powerful Robo. I don't like that title for this. I'm going to name this, and feel free to do this too. I want you all to do this. I'm not going to do this by myself. So go ahead and rename it whatever you want. Maybe your hometown, whatever city you want. Right, I'll name mine Cityscape. Okay. I have my cityscape. Now, we could spend a lot of time and we could grab things from here and manipulate them and try to figure out how to make all these things. But we're going to try to do it even easier using open source. So here's what we're going to do. There's a place over here where it says import. On the top right of your screen, it says import. Now you have to have something that you want to import. But let's say somebody has already made a road, right? So I want to use their road. So I have to get a road. I have to find it. And then once I have it, I can import it. So here's what we're going to do. I have my cityscape. It's already saved automatically. That's what the software does. There's nothing here, but I now have this. If I want you all to please, on the top left, click on the Tinkercad logo, which will bring you back to your main site with all of your designs on it. And you'll see you have, just like I do, you have an empty thing that you started creating, but there's nothing there, and it's got the title that you gave it. Okay? Now, up here on the top right of your screen, you'll see a place for you to search. Go ahead and search any of the things you think you might find on a city block, right? We said some of the things you might want to find: a street or a car. Go ahead, type it in. I'm going to start with a street. I'm going to type in road. Okay, first it'll give you users. Go down. You don't want any of the users that have that word in it. But then you'll start to see things. You'll start to see things people have created that all look so nice. Roads. Wow, look at all these roads. Ooh, I found roads that have trees even. Okay, I found the road I want. I hope that whatever you searched, you chose one, choose one that you like. What we're going to do is, you see under it, it says what it's called, and then it says the name of the person who made it, how long ago they made it, and then there's a little green thing that says public. Does everyone see that? Nod of the head, yes? You see it says public. So public means it's open source. It's for you to take and use, and you could change it, and you could use it, and it's yours. Okay? So I want you to find the one you want and click on it. Okay? Now, you don't need to do anything with it other than download for 3D printing. Now, you're not going to 3D print it, but you want to download a file. download for 3D printing. And if you look at my screen, it should look like your screen, hopefully. Download as an STL, right? Just a regular STL is one of the types of files you would normally use to send to a 3D printer. You're not going to send it to a 3D printer, but having the file on your computer is the thing that you're going to import. Once I have this file saved to my computer, now I have something to import. So save it as an STL, just click on it, and you'll see on the bottom of your screen, it should download to your computer, right? It probably went automatically to your downloads. You can change that if you want. If you download a lot of stuff and you want it to be in a specific place, you can create a folder for 3D design downloads where it'll automatically go there, okay? Now you can click out of this download for 3D printing, click out of that, and click back on the Tinkercad logo on the top left, which will take you back to all of your designs. And go back to your empty cityscape, your empty thing, right? You want to tinker it. It'll say, you'll click on it, it'll say, tinker this. You want to tinker this, right? It's still empty, you haven't put anything there. But now you can click import. Choose a file. It'll open up just like you would normally insert anything. It'll open up a folder where normally your things go. It probably went to your download folder, hopefully. You can search for it in there, but you should see at the bottom of your screen, hopefully when it downloaded, what it's called. And it should be in alphabetical order. Road, here it is. And open. And import. Now I have the road. How was that? Were you able to import something? Yeah? Okay, great. By the way, I know this seems like a lot of steps, but first of all, at the end of the webinar, you'll get the PowerPoint that we're using. You'll also get a website of of tips and hints and stuff like that. But you also get these step-by-step actions for how to do these things. But you learn it very quickly. You know, you do it enough and you learn them. So don't worry about, we'll practice it a lot today, but you'll get these step-by-step actions as well. So now I have my road, and hopefully you have whatever you have, and you can resize it. Go ahead and make sure it's the size you want it. I don't know, whatever you're envisioning, and maybe it's not the color you want. So maybe make it the color that you want. All right. How's that going so far? We okay? All right, great. So you now have one part of your city. Now I want another part of your city, right? Your city block. What's the next thing I might need? So you can determine from your own city what it is, and you'll do the same thing, okay? You're going to go back to the, right? Remember, it's automatically saved. You don't have to press save or anything. It's automatically there, right? So you go back to the Tinkercad logo, which takes you back to your designs. And again, in the search bar, right now you'll see that whatever you created is there. Now you'll go back to your search bar and search the next thing that you want. I want a car. Search car. Go down past the users to the things. Ooh, found some nice cars. Again, just click on it. Download for 3D printing as an STL. Back to your main page. Tinker your city. import, choose a file. And import. If some files are very big, for example, they have a lot of parts to them, so it might take longer to import, but not as long as having to create it yourself. And you can do this over and over again. You can go ahead. You don't have to wait for me. You can go grab the next thing you want to make. You want a building. You want a tree. Go ahead. You're going to create this city block. Take a few minutes. If you forget a step, feel free to ask. There it is. Okay, can we take another 2 minutes? Is that enough time? Okay. Okay. So let's remember how we share this. We take a few screenshots. Now you might want to take really a few, and we're going to put it on our Google slide. I'm going to get the link for you. I'm going to put it in our chat. Here is our chat. we go. Okay, should have the chat now. In the chat, you should find the the Google slide. So take a few. Oops, right here. Escape.
Can you just remind me how to screenshot again?
Yes.
Sorry, I was like
Not at
looking
all. Okay, so if you're on your design,
Yeah.
you'll look at the top right, you see a button that says share.
Okay.
You click the share button, and then where it says snapshot of your design, you click the gray circle which says download locally.
Okay.
And it'll create an automatic picture of whatever it is you see right now on your screen. It'll be downloaded as a picture.
Okay,
Change
thanks.
the angle and do it several times. Yeah. Awesome. Cool stuff. Okay, great. I really like it. Very nice. Michael, what do you got? Some kind of industrial, very cool. Like that. Very futuristic, yet very Western. I don't know. I can't place it. It's
It's
great.
supposed to be a park across the
Oh,
street.
it's a park. Ah, I got it. See, okay, so that's one of the things that happened was all the colors, it kind of became all one color. Right. So getting very complex things like that, like an entire park, that could happen. Um, okay. But very cool. Rifki, very nice. Beautiful home. See, it's like,
It's very fancy.
like, look what I made, right? It's like amazing. Nice lamppost. Very nice. Great. You guys went with very suburban. I went with like a super city, but very cool. Okay, I like that. How did you find that?
It's good. I don't know if it's my computer or internet. It just takes a long time to like download everything.
Everything
So
figure out download. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Might have been your internet.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, Michael, how was that for you?
It was fun. I think like creative in a way that I'm not usually, but like a good entry level creative where I could like think big picture and use already created stuff before I start, doing more detail oriented stuff on my own.
Right. Right. Can either of you think of a way that that this might be helpful in using 3D design in the way that you want to in your classroom?
Well, for me, since I'm trying to incorporate it into Chumash class and I don't have like a set 3D design course that, just because there's time limitations, but if we spend a month on the Mishkan, it'll be nice if there's pre-made things for the
Right.
students.
Right. I'm curious if we are to search that, what would happen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Michael, can you think of how this might be helpful also for what you might use this for?
Yeah. So the most obvious thing that comes to me about like something that fits with my existing curriculum is, like I said, Migdal Bavel, and the idea that you're not just making Migdal Bavel out of shapes, but the project as it exists now is make your Migdal Bavel a comment on something. Use the Meforshim that we learned and what they say about Migdal Bavel to use things that you want to make that same comment about, so you can use existing things. I can also think of like, outside of what I'm currently doing, I know that we started using the STEM lab that Simon administers for us last year when a rabbinics teacher was teaching Chezkat Batim and had them sort of plan a city that they then I think they etched it or something. They did something in the STEM lab with it. But this is a great thing to using existing things for like making roadways and houses. How far do things have to be from other things?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Very cool. Yeah, that's great. Amazing. So I want to show you. I think it's great. One of the things you'll need to do, by the way, Rifki, I don't know if you look at
I know, I see.
you see, it's like there's stuff already there, which,
Right.
by the way, I'm sure it's nice and whatever, but I'm sure whatever you do with your students will be much better.
Right. I might not tell them about this if I want them to make it themselves.
Right. Exactly. But some of this is cool. Look, somebody even put in a nice little paroch in here. Yeah. Looks like a mizbeach here. So there's some cool stuff that's out there already. But yes, I like what you're saying, Rifki, is very accurate, which is sometimes you don't want to use this. Sometimes you want to have your students do it yourself. So I have a rule in my class. I mean, we use 3D design every day. It's the whole class is based around it. Obviously, that's not what you guys are doing, nor should you do. But we have a rule that students are allowed to take things from the open source database. But just like if you were writing an essay and you took a quote from somewhere, you would have to cite your source, right? You would have to write a footnote, or you could say, you know, as this author says in their book, and then you would quote it. So I make my students do the same thing. It's fine if you want to take someone else's thing, but you can't pass it off as your own, right? You can't take something and then make me think that you made it. Because that's plagiarism. Even in open source where someone's okay with you using their thing, you can't pretend like you made it. So that's the rule we have in my class. And there are times when I tell them, like, we're designing a certain thing, and I don't want you to take anyone else's this part of it. I want you to design this part of it yourself. So definitely not wanting them, you know, if the project is creating and you want them to do the creating, not the taking. So yes, that's correct. Very good. Okay. I want to show you now just another thing that I think is important for you to do, to know how to do in the Tinkercad software. Because a lot of times, particularly when we're doing Jewish things, right? I don't know that you'll have this with Migdal Bavel, but you'll certainly have this, Rifki, with the Mishkan. And if you use this for other things that could be potentially in Tanakh, but anything in Halacha or things like that. So dimensions are very important. In many things, dimensions are important. So what I want us to do is just see for a minute how to utilize dimensions when creating something. So I'd like you to create a new design. If you go back to your Tinkercad main page and click on Create New Design. And I'd like you to take just a regular red box and place it on your screen. Okay. All right, if you take a look at my shared screen for a moment, I want to show you a couple of things. Okay. Take a look at your grid. Your grid is made up of little squares that make up big squares, right? That's what all of our grids are made up of. This can all be adjusted. Your default, if you look over here where it says snap grid in the bottom right corner, it says 1.0 millimeter. That means that when I want to snap this in, you see how every time I move it, it kind of snaps to the next line? Snap, snap, snap. That's 1 millimeter each. Now, 1 millimeter doesn't matter for our purposes other than if we wanted to print this, each tiny box here is 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter, right? If we were going to print it. Now, we're not going to print it, but that's my snap grid. If I look here in this is called my inspector. This tells me everything about the highlighted shape, right? Length, width, height, 20 by 20 by 20. That's all in millimeters, okay? If I wanted, for example, if I was building the Mishkan, for example, right? So I need each one of my krashim around that go around the building of the Mishkan. I need them to be a certain width. I don't offhand remember that width, but let's say it's probably not 20, right? It's a certain amount of, I don't know, tfachim or amot, right? Probably. So I always have my students do everything to scale, right? So 1 amma is going to be 1 millimeter, or 1 tefach if we're working in tfachim. 1 tefach is going to be 1 millimeter. So that's what you want to. So you want to teach your students to be mindful of these numbers. That when I move them, those are all the millimeters, right? 14, 9, 8, 7, right? So if it's 5 tfachim, so that's where I want it. It's not 20 tfachim high or whatever it is, right? So, so being mindful of that is important, I think, for your students, if that's the kind of thing you're going to be doing, of making things to scale. You can also do things this way, which is a cool feature, right? You can change your width just by sliding this scale. And obviously, these are not nice round numbers, but you just click on the number. I want it to be 100. Enter. Done. Length, I want it to be 42. Enter. Done. Height, I want to be 8. Enter. Done. You can do this, by the way, for all of these things you have on the side. If you take the sphere, for example, for the sphere, so for every image you take, obviously things are a little bit different. This is steps. And you can play with it, see what it looks like when you only have 3 steps versus having 24 steps, right? I don't know why they named it steps, but basically means this is how many levels there are to your circle. 1 level, 2 levels, 3 levels, right? So the more I increase it, the more round looking my sphere gets. But all of them have, this one has nothing. But most of these shapes have ways of just manipulating just by sliding the scale. Okay, I want to show you one other thing that is open source, that is so amazing and so useful, and it's gonna be amazing. You'll see my students use this all the time. It's annoying to have to search for something that you're looking for and then download it to your computer and then import it into your screen. It's a lot of steps. Here on the right side of your screen, you have your basic shapes. There's something called Community Shape Generator. Your Community Shape Generator are things that other people have made that are shapes that you can manipulate. And they've created them, right? When you get good, you can create things too and put them on the Community Shape Generator. And they're just interesting shapes. Here's the wheel that you don't have to reinvent, right? But for example, let's say we wanted, the thing that I remember when you built a sukkah and I gave you grass. So this is terrain, right? You just put it there. There it is. There's my terrain. And there are things I can do with it. I can change the scape. I can make it super mountainy. Make it smooth or not smooth. I can randomize it. I can change the color of it. I can do all kinds of things. And I don't know, it's all created. Somebody created a thread if I want to create some kind of screw, right? There it is. And I can change the diameter, the pitch, the segments, the rotation. There are all these things. People just create them. And if you really like them, well, here's a cool one. My students use this one a lot. It's like a little maze type of thing. And you can manipulate all of these things. How you want it, the loop. You can play around with this. It's so much fun to play around with it, but you can really use them for lots of things. If you like one that you think you use a lot, you just star it. You put a star by it, and then you have your favorites. And then it automatically goes to your favorites. I have terrain in there. I use that a lot. But this little area here where you can choose all these different shapes which are already created for you. Here's some symbols, right? Text. By the way, in the Community Shape Generator, there is a Hebrew text. Where is it? Somebody created, there's round text and curved words, regular text. Here we go, Hebrew text. Shalom. And this, you can change the wording just right here. Instead of it saying shalom, you can type something else. Right? And it'll just automatically show up as Hebrew, and you can, of course, change the, right? So there's a lot you can do with this just from things that other people have created. This was the house that I used for my meteor coming at my house. So there are things that are here. I want to give you a couple minutes to check this out and play with it. And I've been doing some talking now. I just wanted to show you these things before our time is up. And of course, on your own, I'm sure you'll play with this and you'll explore. But you can take a couple of minutes and just kind of look through it. Go ahead and take a minute or two, look through it. Feel free to put some things on your plane and play with them, manipulate them, see how you can change them.
What does randomizer mean? It, like, says it on some of them.
The randomizer, like in the terrain?
Yeah. What does that like do?
I really think it's exactly what it says. Like it just changes when you move it.
Uh-huh.
It changes it totally randomly.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So that if you wanted different terrains that looked very different from each other, it would just, that's really what I think it does. Other than that, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so how are we doing? Exploring a little bit? There's some cool stuff here. You know, it's great because not everyone is able to construct in their imagination, just everything from nothing. And sometimes you need inspiration, like I'm the kind of person who, when I need to draw something or, I just need to start doing it, and then I need to be able to see something, and it will help my brain become more creative and anchored. So, all of these different shapes and tools that are already here, I find they help students kind of give them direction in terms of where they're going with what they're creating, and give them ideas. So, obviously, in whatever projects you give your students, you'll set the limits for what you want them to do and what you don't want them to do, and what you want them to use and what you don't want them to use. But these are really good options to have and to know about. Okay, with the little time that we have left, I want to just give you a few of my takeaways of what I want you to have just from my advice and the time that I've been doing this. So I'm going to go back to my my slideshow, and just a few things to keep in mind. And I'm curious what you think about this. Feel free to chime in. Before you design, ask yourself, do I want my students to design from scratch or modify an existing design? Right? You decide that once you've made the decision for this lesson or for this unit, I want to use Tinkercad. So what do I want them to do? I want them to design from scratch or use something. Allow and encourage students to be creative and explore. It's the perfect medium for that. We've talked about this, but that's really what this is. This isn't like, it's a shame to use this software and for it to be a class where students feel burdened or limited. They should be encouraged to be creative and to put themselves into it. Feel free, you should utilize online tutorials, the third one, for both yourself and your students. As you saw just from the 6 we did at the beginning in the first webinar, there's so much good stuff out there that exists that will help you and your students understand the software better. The next one, as with any type of online coursework, make sure you establish netiquette rules and procedures with your class before beginning. Meaning, are you familiar with the term netiquette? Basically, you want to make sure that, if your students are going to be using computers during class, or, for many of you, they probably do already. But you want to just make sure, like with anything else, that you establish the rules of what is okay, what is not okay, especially when you have students who will be working together on the same project. You don't want a student manipulating something that their partner has done. Could be very bad. Mention to your students how marketable this skill is in the real world, which it is, which students like and like hearing. And finally, teenagers are naturally inclined to be better at this than you. It's a great way to empower them to help each other. And in that, I want to just show you some of the pictures of, my students working on projects. And, this picture right over here is, I told you at the very beginning when we first started that this whole class came about because I had a student who was using 3D design in the library, and I saw him doing it, and we brainstormed. So this is him teaching the class, and this is the exact kind of thing that this is good for. It's good to empower students. When you'll see, when you do this with your class, you'll see the 1 or 2 students who are really good at this, and like they take ownership over it. Let them like help other students. Let them, when a student raises their hand, how do I do this? I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to grab this. Empower that student to go help their friend, because they're going to be better at it than you or me at this software. Let them do that. Allow them to collaborate, to teach each other, to problem solve, because I think that that's exactly what this software is good for. I have just a 1-minute video I took. I took this 3 days ago. Yes, I took it at the beginning of this week. I took a video of my students in class working on their Chanukiot. I had every student, as I told you, I gave them this assignment. They had to each make a Chanukia that was not a usable kosher Chanukia, and they had to share it with someone else. And the person they shared it with had to fix it, had to make it into a kosher Chanukia. So I just took a short video. I just want to share with you so that you can see some of their work that they're working on. Okay, so you just saw them working on each other's things. The things they were working on, they didn't make. They just had to fix them. Somebody else made it. So just a lot of opportunity here. Last thing I want to show you, and then we're done. You'll all be getting, obviously, you'll be getting this slideshow. You'll be getting an email with a link to all 3 of these webinars if there's anything that you want to watch again or look over. But additionally, you'll be getting this, which is a Haiku. I don't know if any of you have used Haiku. It's a learning management system where you can create classrooms and put content on there. This is just a resource page that you'll have access to with some tips and some links to stuff, a curriculum guide that I created that I use for my class, but some information that I use in my classes when talking about halachic measurements, some ready-made 3D models for other places where you can find open source, some examples of student work, and then over here is just on the next page of it, which you'll have access to also, is the slideshow that we've been working with. So you'll have access to all of this, and of course, you know, I'm someone who is excited about this software, obviously, and you know, getting questions and helping colleagues utilize the software in the best possible way for their classroom is something I would enjoy. So please, if you have any questions ever, feel free to reach out to me. And you know, this should be the beginning of a new and exciting tool that you have at your disposal for things that you teach that will really engage your students in a new way that they'll be very excited about. And it should bring all of our learning to a higher level. And that's it, really. Yasher koach to you all for this and for everything you do for the students.
Thank you so much.
So much. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, enjoy. Have a great night. Stay warm wherever you are. And enjoy.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Great to meet you all. I hope we cross paths again.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.